March of 2025, the President of the United States announced a grand plan to essentially dismantle the Department of Education. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't quite understand what the Department of Education is, a crude and very quick explanation is it is the department of the US government that really controls access to education, and it does so through curriculum development, through civil rights protections, and funding, which would include student loans. And while nothing has really changed so far, that announcement did set a precedent that I don't think should be downplayed. And because of this new political administration, things are changing, and they're changing fast. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you, but rather I'm hoping this video will give you the information you need to feel empowered to make informed decisions about both your financial and educational well-being. Now, I do want to just jump right into the things to consider. So if you are somebody that are watching this and you are unsure what student loans are, how to get them, or how to pay them back, don't worry. I have videos that discuss in depth all of those things, and one of them is actually with a financial expert. So save this video, head to the description box below, that's where these videos will be linked, and then come back and rewatch this video. So the first thing we need to discuss is how to pay back your student loans. Now, currently there are a variety of different programs and ways that people with student debt can pay back their student loans in a reasonable manner. And I go over these options on how to pay back your student debt in the videos that I mentioned earlier, but in general, there's programs like the Public Servant Loan Forgiveness Program, there's the SAVE program, which used to be called the Repay program, and other types of income-based payment processes. These programs or plans were created to make paying back your student debt financially feasible because they were based off of your income and not your total loan amount. But since these programs were implemented by other US presidential administrations, it's not technically impossible to have this current administration or even future administrations get rid of these plans, making paying back your student debt a lot more inaccessible for future and current borrowers. Again, the point is not to frighten you, but rather to give you the information so you can think about the risks that you are willing and not willing to make as a new or current borrower. Being cautious about your total debt that you are owing the US government is important because, again, income-based repayment plans would change your payments to focus on what would be financially feasible based off the income that you are making. However, if they were to no longer exist, then your monthly payment could be upwards $1,000 or more, especially if you are entering into the 26% of us that have borrowed over $100,000 to pursue their graduate school. Now, I'm not actually suggesting that because of what's going on, you should just give up on graduate school, stay away from loans, and find a whole new life dream. Unless that's what you want to do, then I totally support it because you know what's best for you. But if I was in your position, I would consider two things. The first thing I would question is, can I get grants or a job to pay for my graduate school experience? And, or as a second thing, can I get my master's or PhD in a country where education is either free or way more affordable than the United States? Now, if you are interested in trying to figure out how can you find jobs or grants for graduate school, don't worry, I have an entire grad funding playlist that I will link in the description box below that you can go to. And I just released a video talking about types of jobs that people get to pay for graduate school. And I will actually link that at the end screen of this video so you can watch it next. But I'm bringing this all up, or the point of everything that I'm bringing up is to remind you, even though things are intense, seem very unstable and unpredictable, that doesn't mean you don't have options. And it's important to consider all of your options before giving up all hope and not pursuing your dreams, or conversely, committing to doing something that you may regret in the future. So consider these things before pursuing student loans and grad schools more generally. So again, you can have an informed decision and understand the consequences and the pros and the cons to what you decide on. Now, if you are a current borrower, things are a little more uncertain for us because we're already implicated or kind of trapped within this system. Now, I use the word uncertain because it could be completely possible that nothing changes and we just exist in the same type of doom state that we were in the past administration. Or things could get much, much worse and we'll have to rely on each other, organizations, and other types of resources to kind of survive this next financial recession and world that we may be living in. But good news. There are resources and organizations that are already doing that work, so we don't have to start from scratch, and we definitely don't have to do it alone. Now, I'm not an expert on student debt, and I'm definitely not a financial expert, but I do follow some people that are student debt experts, and I would like to share these resources that I use with you. And the first resource that I use is the Debt Collective. The Debt Collective is a union of debtors that are working to abolish all types of debt. This would include medical, credit card, payday loans, and of course, student loans. And they are invested in actions that rely on radical revolutionary strategies to essentially challenge this current capitalistic structure that we are working within. Now, they are a debtors union. And if you're confused about what a debtors union is, imagine it just like a workers' unions that work together to bring a collective people together to build power and authority to challenge some type of systemic injustice or structure. The Debt Collective, as a debtors union, comes together to build power to challenge these financial injustice, to abolish all debt, and then also to challenge racist and capitalist structures within our current lived society. There are tons of ways to get involved with the Debt Collective, and all of these ways are free, though of course they would accept donations. But what's amazing about this program is that they are actively working to cancel debts. So in 2015, they had actually led the first ever group of student loan strikers. And in 2022, under the Biden administration, they were able to pressure Joe Biden to actually cancel $6 billion worth of student debt that covered almost 500,000 people. Another resource is the Student Debt Crisis Center. Now, the Student Debt Crisis Center is a nonprofit that is working within legislation, advocacy, education, and outreach to, again, relieve student debtors of financial burden that is student debt. And they have won critical policy wins that have impacted our experiences as student borrowers. For example, they have stopped the increasing interest rate of student loans. They have increased consumer protections for borrowers, and also have done a lot of legislative laws that have passed both in state and the government. Now, this program is much more by the books and focused on law and advocacy, but if you are interested in getting involved, they have ways that you can participate in your local government or in more general kind of outreach ways, and the links will be in the description box below. And the next resource is the Student Borrowers Protection Center. And this is a nonprofit just like the other two that are interested in ending student debt. However, they are also looking more towards legislative and uniquely law. And so they engage in litigation on behalf of student borrowers. And again, this organization is going to be way more focused on advocacy, policy, and law. And an example of this is just last year, they took Moelia, which is a student loan service provider, to court because they were paying back loans or getting access or correcting mistakes on people's accounts almost impossible to do. And so they took Moelia to court on behalf of student borrowers. So again, if this is something that you are interested in, the description box will have all the information that you would need. And this could also be a resource to keep you aware of what legal and policy moves are happening within the United States that may impact you and your student loans. Now, I say this next strategy with caution because I'm not a financial expert. I do not understand the ins and outs and the technicalities of these things. This is just something I saw on the internet that people have been saying. So before you make any decisions, again, on your educational and your financial well-being, you should talk to a real expert that understands things in a profoundly more advanced way than I do. I'm only sharing this next strategy because I saw it on the internet, people are talking about it, and I want to make it available to you just in case it is something you are interested in. And this strategy that I found on the internet from people I don't know is basically people saying that they are opening up disputes with their credit bureaus on their student loans, because they are claiming that there is a violation of the Family Education Privacy Act, or FERPA. And basically what they're arguing is because of Elon Musk or Doge having access to the Department of Education's private information that is, you know, student loan holders' private intimate information, that their FERPA privacy has been violated, and because of this violation, they would like to have their student loans removed. Now again, I'm not sure how this works. I am also not even completely convinced that this is a legit thing. I have seen one person that I do not know personally, that I've seen shared on the internet, say that it worked for them. However, I want to share it with you so you have this information. It is completely searchable on TikTok and on any search engine that you use, but I wanted to share it with you so you can do the research and look into it if it's something that you would like to do. I have done it, but not because I think it's going to be the answer to all of our problems, but because I couldn't figure out if this, I could see no negative to participating. So if this is something else that interests you, look into it, go to TikTok, go to some search engine and see what people are saying and see if that kind of makes sense to you, and then you could do it. But it is a strategy that I've been seeing on the internet as a very unprofessional, unaware person that doesn't understand how all of these things work. I am sharing this with you so you can make your own informed decision on if that's something that you would want to do. And the final strategy is to actually continue as normal, but with a lot more caution. And I say that to say, again, it's still pretty early in this administration. And while there is a lot of big changes and conversation about news and threats and things going on, it is completely possible that a lot of it is just lip service, or in other words, it's not going to actually happen or come into fruition. And so I don't want us to give up on our big graduate school dreams or commit to graduate school just because of some headlines or what have you that may be more sensationalized than what the actual impact is. Now, with that said, even before 2025, I still suggested that you would pursue student loans with caution. And that's because regardless of who is running what administration, student loan debt, especially in the United States, can be a big financial stressor and can really impact your mental, social, and even possibly your physical well-being. And so it's important to consider how important this is to you before committing to anything. But I don't want you just to give up. And that's why I have this video right here that talks about how people pay for graduate schools and alternative jobs or opportunities that can make the financial burden of graduate programs less of a burden. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.